All right. Somehow my my microphone sound, or the volume of my microphone, right into the floor. Somehow my microphone went into the floor. And it was because the volume of my microphone was changed. But I don't know if what I was saying came through before. The where I was on election night was helping break down the election site, because I work the elections. I do the I help with the machines. If you go into an election site and you essentially, when you get your information checked, you get your little ballot card, your other little card, and you go over to the person who takes you over to a machine, and you go to a machine and you vote. That machine, the person that brings you to that machine, is me. That's what I do for the election. And even though I'm not going to vote, I'm still going to work them. I'm still going to work the elections. I'm still going to I'm still going to do my duty, because while my opinions of our government aren't kind right now, it's not for me to impart that on people who don't want it. Now, there are people that find themselves having a conversation with me about politics during that day. Yes, I conversed with a lot of people about politics during that day. Whatever day. If it's the midterms, general, doesn't matter. Whatever conversation that I have with people about politics usually happens out front of the building, away from the entryway, so as not to influence anybody's thoughts just as they're going in to make their votes. But I usually just listen to what people have to say. I don't really impart what I have to think onto them. I just listen. But this is where I was on election night. I was shutting down the election site, returning all the equipment back to the room that it needs to return to, because as a matter of fact, the general election in 2024 was we were at the church. That's where we were. That's where we were, over at the church right across the street from my apartment. And it wasn't until midterms of 2025 that we were moved to the elementary school down the road. And that's where we were in just the midterms or the general election of 2025 as well. Just this November, we were also at the school. And pretty much in the future, we're going to be probably over at the school. Which, I mean, it's whatever to me. But this is where I end up being on election. As a matter of fact, I got shit. The company I worked for gave me shit for working the election. Even though I have been doing this for more than a year now, they were giving me shit about it. Telling me that my responsibility was actually there delivering pizza and rolling out pizza dough. That was my actual responsibility. Not as an American citizen. My actual responsibility was rolling out pizza for non-tipping ghetto people. a lot of which are dope heads.
A month later, we got Vivek Ramaswamy and Sriram Krishnam and Elon Musk telling us that if we didn't want infinite H-1B visas, that we should fuck ourselves in the face. We got Marco Rubio as our Secretary of State, John Ratcliffe as the director of the CIA. Total disappointment as far as the cabinet is concerned. They promised us it would be different this time. It would be a golden age. They said there would be mass deportations. You're going back, they said. And how are we doing here in 2025? Well, let's see. According to the latest ICE data, we have deported 330,000 people this year. 330,000. So Joe Biden brought in 10 million in 4 years. That's an average of 2.5 million per year. We deported 300,000 this year. You multiply that by 4, we get 1.2 million by the end of the first term. That's not massive. How are we doing in terms of the wars? Well, let's see. Trump has bombed Somalia more than any president in history. We bombed Nigeria on Christmas. We've bombed Venezuela 25 times. We bombed Iran. We bombed Syria last week. We bombed Yemen. We went to war with Yemen for a month. How many countries has the Trump administration bombed? I think it's a dozen. We're still at war in Ukraine. Looks like we're going to go back into Iran pending the 5th meeting between Trump and Netanyahu on the 29th to bomb their ballistic missile program.
I'm going to give you some foreshadowing, Nick, from the future. Yeah, it's happening. You're right.
How about trade and tariffs? Is that making the economy stronger? In October, they didn't even release the jobs numbers because it was so bad. No infrastructure bill, no investment, no jobs in the country. We did get a corporate tax cut, an extension of the corporate tax cut from 2017. How about transparency on the JFK assassination, Epstein files, 9/11? We got none of it. Congress had to force the Trump administration to release the Epstein files, and the files we got are heavily redacted. They're withholding most of them, and the ones that we got, it's like a joke. They're blacked out completely. People had to actually copy and paste the text, had to use an exploit in the documents to even get anything out of them. 1 year in, it is a complete disaster, maybe a disaster exceeding anybody's expectations. And what did they say about me during the election last year? They said I was a Democrat shill. They said I was a Democrat plant for saying that maybe we should have some expectations. In 2024, I said I will not vote for Trump unless he pledges not to bomb Iran, unless he promises an immigration moratorium. Well, Trump bombed Iran, and in terms of immigration, we filled the H-1B cap, we doubled the number of Chinese students, and we don't have mass deportations. So maybe it would have been a good thing if we forced Trump's feet to the fire on those issues. Maybe it would have been a good thing if we demanded a commitment back then when he needed our vote, not now when he needs nothing from us. For that, I was called a shill, plant, a fed. They said I made a deal with the FBI. To avoid prosecution, I said that I would not get Trump elected. Now you see that I was right. And the reason I bring this up is because just as quickly as Trump has crashed and burned, they want us to forget about it and already get ready for the next one. As quickly as Trump has crashed and burned, it took all of 1 year for every promise to be broken, every promise to be totally destroyed. They want us to get ready to hold our nose and vote for the next one. You don't like this administration? Well, get ready to vote for the second in command of this administration, because that will surely be better. Why would it be better? Why is it better for us to commit right now? Why is it better? Why would we even, in the first place, why would it be smart for us to commit to vote at all in 2028? Why don't you worry about this year? Why don't you worry about governing? You want us to vote in 28? It's 25, and nothing is going right. Why don't you worry about this administration? Worry about 2026 and 2027. Worry about keeping your promises, doing a good job, before we even think about voting in 28 at all. But to boot, they want us to get ready to vote for the second in command? There's not even a primary. We don't even know who this guy is. What does he do other than give speeches? Well, he gave a great speech at Turning Point. He's saying all the right things. Okay, well, so did Trump. So did Obama. So did a lot of people. That's politics. He said all the right things. Everybody says the right things. That's politics. Okay, he's good at saying the right things. It's not that hard, actually.
It's funny because he's literally echoing my sentiment. This kid is probably about 17 years younger than I am, but he's echoing the exact same things I say. Exact same things I say. Like, your words mean nothing. You all can spin these beautiful sentences as much as you feel you need to, but they mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing when we're staring your results in its face. These results mean nothing because there are no results. There are none. There are absolutely no results. So yes, they all mean nothing. Donald Trump has done nothing. I will say it, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. He has done nothing. He's pandered to the same things as everybody else is and would have. He has done nothing. So do not climb on his back. Do not put him on your back. And do not put this administration or politicians in general on your back. Because these people are not for you. They will never be for you. And the day that they are for you is the day that they don't exist anymore.
Why don't we wait and see? And that's my pitch. I'm not pledging to vote for anybody, Republican or Democrat, J.D. Vance or anybody else, until we actually get to 2028. I want to see who the candidates are. I want to see their pitch. And I want to see how this vice president governs. You want my vote? Hey, you have power. Turn the ship around. You want my vote? Why don't you walk across the fucking hallway and talk to your boss about that? They say vote for JD. Everybody needs to get on board for JD. I don't know. 47 is not doing such a great job. Maybe 48 should walk down the hall, knock on the door of the Oval Office and say, hey, you're killing my chance of getting elected. How's that for an incentive? You want to talk about Vance for 48? Everyone's getting behind him. We're all ready for that. I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready for that until I get my mass deportations, until the war in Ukraine is over, until somebody can restrain Israel and prevent them from getting us into another war. I'm not getting ready to vote for anybody until we can shut down all immigration from all these countries. You want to bring in Indians and Chinese? Then start deporting more than you bring in. Get us to net zero. Then we can talk about skilled migration or any migration for that matter. They're already telling us, get ready, get in line to vote again, get your registration. Fuck you. Everybody knows this country is finished. Everybody knows the country's going down the tubes. The Republicans will not lift a finger to do a thing about it. The graft, the corruption, the stealing, if you knew the extent of it, you would want a revolution tomorrow. You would want to kill these people. And I'm not...
And that's the bad thing, is that some of us have known for so long. We've known for so long. We've been trying to bring it to light for so long. I like a lot of what Nick says in regards to politics, but he is so far behind. And he's not really, in the sense that he's not talking to me and my generation. He already knows that people like me and my generation have, like, our age shows because of the fight we've been fighting. Nick knows that. He's talking to his generation of people. The barely 20s. I think he's like 26, 27. How old is Nick? I'm going to say 27. Oh my fucking God. I'm good. I'm fucking good. I am good. Fuck, I'm good. I don't need an audience. I really don't. I'm fucking good. I'm fucking good.
I'm not saying to do that, not encouraging violence, but I'm saying you would want to.
So I don't need you, Azor.
And the corruption, the stealing that is going on in this administration from these people that were picked by Trump, it is just the most brazen cronyism and larceny, embezzlement you've ever even heard of. It's like unheard of. And they're already telling you, well, get ready to vote for Vance. It is a level of hubris I've never seen before. And I'm one of the only people that's not at the party. I'm one of the only people that's not being paid under the table in 24 and 25. All these other people are ready to say, well, I like Vance. Well, I'm getting ready to vote Republican. Well, Trump's still doing an okay job. No, I don't think so. I don't think you understand. There's a lot more urgency, and we want more than what we're getting. So I'm leaving myself open to all options. And I'm willing to punish the GOP. I do believe the GOP needs to be burned to the fucking ground. Because I'll tell you what, if Donald Trump cannot get it together in the next 3 years, that is exactly what the GOP deserves. The voters did their part. The voters delivered the White House, the popular vote, the Electoral College, the House, the Senate. The voters delivered a mandate. If you can't capitalize on this the third time, you won in 2016. You blew it in 20. You got back in 24. If you blew yet another opportunity when you had everything going for you, you promised so much, delivered so little. If you blow it again, you don't deserve to get in power for another 4 years. You deserve to be fired. The GOP deserves to be burned to the fucking ground. And they want to say, well, we'll never come back from that. Well, it'll take us all this time to rebuild. But this. Then you better get your ass in overdrive. Don't tell me. I'm a podcaster. Don't come and give me a hard time. I'm not running for office. I'm a live streamer. I'm a podcaster. I'm a weird kid in my basement, for crying out loud. Don't come and cry to me.
That's what I am. I'm a weird dude that just talks to himself in the middle of the fucking night at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, we're trying to win in 28, and you're not being a good member of the team. I'm not a member of the team. I don't have a jersey, and I don't have a contract. I'm not getting fucking paid. Don't come and tell me about we're going to have a hard time in 28. You have an opportunity. You have the House. You have the Senate. You have the White House. You ran the table, and the voters delivered. And now you're fucking stealing. You're not delivering. You're flapping your gums. You're stealing. You're lazy. Nobody gives a shit. And you want us to go out and vote again in 28? We should go out and destroy you in 28. We should go out and absolutely burn you to the ground in 28. You'd be lucky to leave with your lives.
This is what we need to do. They want to push JD Vance for 2028. We vote independent. We find that independent candidate who thinks, I'm just here because I have to fill the spot. I'm the best choice for independence candidates. Vote that motherfucker in. Vote the independent candidate in. That's how we do this. This is what I'm telling you people now. I might not be the only person saying it right now. Break the mold. Vote independent. The independent candidate, the true, because there's always that true independent candidate who runs every time. Not the Jill Steins, not the goofballs, not the appropriation of somebody else's culture because it might get me votes. Not these people. because there is always a true independent candidate that always has their name on the ballot every year. We just don't see it because we're too busy with the shell game that is the Republican and the Democrat. Vote independent. I'm the one that's saying it. Others might be saying, well, granted, a lot of what I've seen is still vote the right people into the Republican Party. Vote the right people into the Democrat Party. I think that's been our problem. I think that ultimately has been our problem. Vote independent. Do not vote for a party. Vote as an independent voter, wanting to see what an independent policy looks like. And not an independent policy that's going to be, well, I'm only independent because this is the only place I could get in. You will see that independent party policy. If you want to vote, do not vote down a party line. Vote straight down the middle. Run independent policies. Because that's what it's going to take right now, is us all standing as independent people against our government. And not individual people, independent people. As a singular, independent entity that will not be swayed, will not be conned, will not be bullied into choosing the same script over and over. Break this mold and vote independent. If you really need to vote in this election, vote independent. But I'll tell you, you don't have to vote. It is one of our given rights as an American citizen to vote, but you don't have to. And the ramifications for not voting aren't as bad as what people would perceive it to be. The ramifications for not voting are the results that are cast are the results. But what it will do is it will trigger an investigation. I said it a year ago, and I'll say it again a year later. If we do not vote in our election, and but it has to be millions of people. It cannot be thousands of people. It has to be millions of people. This country has, I think it's 300 plus million people in it. How many people are in the United States? I guess my mic's not going to work in here. Mm. $350 million people. We don't need 350 million people to vote independent or not vote. What we need is, this is what we need. I will give you what we need to fix this all. To fix this all, we need a third of 350. A third of 350 million. 16.7 million people. 116.7 million people vote independent. And the other 117 million people don't vote. I need a parameter What if the millennials down to Gen Z decided not to vote? How would that affect the election? If millennials and Gen Z, the roughly 18 to 44 age range, suddenly didn't vote, it would have a big impact on U.S. election. But the exact effect depends on a lot of turnout and demographic patterns. Let's look at the breakdown. We make up a large and growing share of eligible voters. I mean, this is already apparent. If you've ever taken any political classes, anything where politics is the main focus of the subject, then you know that boomers and Gen X, they're kind of on their way out of politics. Gen X, not so much, because my parents are Gen X. My parents are the Gen Xers. They're still kind of, I'm not going to say clinging on, but they kind of know that they're basically running on their parents' policies, the policies in which their parents set forth for them. So they don't want to take control of government, politics, because they're the generation that fought against it all. They're the generation of rebellion, the generation of this does nothing but hurt society. That's where they come from. So a lot of real Gen Xers really don't want to take control of politics because they know what power does to people. So they really, Gen Xers want to turn it over to millennials. The millennials with brains in their heads. I have to always be specific because people like to think, oh, you're just talking about anybody. You want to give control to some idiotic Joe Schmo? I'm like, no, I don't. I want to give it to somebody with a brain in their head that's actually going to be able to deal with policy in a way that needs to be dealt with. And dealing with policy as a, well, we got to feed the rest of the world money. That's not policy. That's you trying to play creepy granddad to everybody and just hand out dollars. I don't care if the prime minister of England needs a buddy. I don't care. We don't want you doing business with England because the guy needs a buddy. I don't care if you're doing business with these countries because you think they need buddies. We do this stuff because this is what we want. We tell you, we want the Epstein files. We want to know who in our government and who's been the influences of our lives, our entire lives. We want to know who these people are that we should never have trusted to begin with, because while they're playing this family-friendly person on screen, they're being grotesque people behind the scenes. We want to know about that. We want to know who these gross, disgusting people are that you've put as our role models for our entire lives and told us to listen to, and we had to listen to because they know what's best for us. You've put these people in our paths, and you've put us in harm's way at the same time. This is why it all needs to change, and he's fucking right. It all needs burnt to the fucking ground if you guys don't start doing what you promised in the beginning of 2024 election. And I'm not talking about during November. I'm talking about what you guys came out of the gate talking about in goddamn January. Because you know you started your campaign runs in January. You're like brand new cars. And that you're not actually working at the current model year. You're actually advertising yourself long before then. We know how this works. We've done this for a while now. Just the same as I said about the language barriers, we've done this for a while now. We're done with the attempts of plausible deniability based on some BS that you fabricated because you think it sounded good when you written it down on paper. It doesn't sound good when you say it to us. I promise you that. And only the smartest people will tell you that you sound ignorant. Only the smartest of us will tell you that. Otherwise, people will still kiss your ass, lick your ball sack, and vote for who you say. It won't happen anymore. I've already said it once, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to reiterate it until I'm a gazillionaire, which will never happen, so I'll never stop. These people do not care about us. Nick is right. We need to start listening to our gut and stop listening to these people.
Go in July and say, you want the Epstein tapes? I don't need your vote. You want the Epstein tapes? You're a sucker with your lives. And only have the party destroyed for this treason. 28, we should go out and destroy you in 28. We should go out and absolutely burn you to the ground in 28. You'd be lucky to leave with your lives. And only have the party destroyed for this treason. They go in July and say, you want the Epstein tapes? I don't need your vote. You want the Epstein tapes? You're a sucker. You want me then to go and campaign for this shit? JD Vance goes on Theo Von and says, I don't know what Palantir is. I don't know what that is. Tucker goes on Theo Von. I don't know what Palantir is. Oh, like hell you don't know what Palantir is. You fucking liar. It's disgusting. So my message is this. There is a loaded gun pointed at the GOP. Fix it now. Fix the country or get blown away in 28. That's it. No negotiations. No one's holding their nose one more time. No one's going to be a good sport. We're not going to hold the line. We're not going to vote for the lesser of two evil. There is a loaded gun pointed at the GOP, figuratively, not literally. Figuratively. It's a very toxic climate right now, violent climate. But
that's what I was saying. Figuratively, metaphorically, hypothetically, imaginatively. You got to be specific with this stuff. Otherwise, you got FBI banging down your fucking door, swatting you because you said something that could be perceived as a national security threat. I'm just some random dude talking behind a camera into a microphone about how much the government fucking sucks and is literally purposely trying to kill us all.
There's a loaded gun pointed at the GOP. You better fix this country. JD Vance, you better march down to the Oval Office and get this guy awake from his nap and fix the country, or none of us are turning out in 28. That's an ultimatum. Don't say we want it to burn it to the ground. We want it to succeed. You have left us no choice. And then we'll have a new generation in 2032. You don't want to see what that looks like. You think this is bad? You don't want to see what comes next if Trump fails. So don't give me this, well, they only want to destroy and we want to build. You want to build? Well, then get started. Get started on the mass deportations. Don't tell me about 600,000 Chinese students and you're going to fill the H-1B visa cap every year. And we need the students for the universities and we need the talent and we need the labor and all that nonsense. You keep talking like that, you can blow out.
We don't need any of that. And that's what blows my mind about these politicians thinking that, again, why are we voting for these people that have no faith in our population? We are an American population. We have the smartest people down to the dumbest people. We have just as many smart people in this country as anybody else around the world has. I don't care what some Indian person gets on a test. Congratulations, you got a good score on a fucking test. You know what I'm not good at? Tests. I'm terrible at tests. You know why? Because my brain's like, oh my God, I gotta compartmentalize every bit of my knowledge in this subject down to this one little 15-question test. Tests are bullshit. They will always be bullshit. They don't explain practicality at all. They don't test someone's practical abilities at all. They never will. And anybody that hinges somebody's intelligence on a test, That's why you fail. This is why you fail at your job, because you think a test is the ultimate gauge of someone's intelligence. This is why school is a failure, because they think tests are the ultimate gauge of somebody's intelligence, when the world literally works nothing like that. The world works in practicality. If you can take what you've been taught and practically apply it in a job, that's all a company worries about. They don't give a damn if you got a 100% on a test. They literally don't. So all you instructors, you teachers, you asshat people in class, making these students fear what the job is going to be like when they get out, you should be fired from your job and never be allowed to teach a person again, because you're instilling the wrong information and the wrong practices on people. I will tell you exactly what happens when you get into the real world of working. You don't get tested every end of the week. You don't get tested on the specific pieces of a subject. You don't see any of that. 0% of what you see in a classroom happens in real life. In a real life job, doing real life things in the real world. None of it. 0% of what happens in a classroom. None of it. Not the information, not the fucking testing, not the quizzing, not the games. None of it translates back to the real world. The knowledge you gain while you're there is the only thing that translates into the real world. And it's not the book smarts you gained. It's not the lecture notes. The knowledge you gained while being there. Not information, not notes, not tests. It's the knowledge. And you know, if you gained knowledge in a subject while you're in a classroom, you know you have. You don't gain knowledge by just showing up to the class, doing the tests and the quizzes and the homeworks and the worksheets. You don't learn and gain knowledge that way. You gain knowledge from the constant reciprocation of it, the constant regurgitation of it, the constant talking about it. Taking the information you are gaining and turning it into a speaking point, turning it into something that's information worth speaking about. That's how you gain knowledge in something. It's not to sit in a classroom, listen to a lecture, take notes, and then take a test. That's not knowledge. That's just information. That's it. The knowledge is what you're gaining from all of that, and how you can take that and translate it back into something you can explain to somebody. Like if somebody was to ask me about, think of a class I've taken, taken a lot of classes. Astronomy. I talked about the Fermi paradox. That alone, the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox is a bit of information you don't gain just happenstance. I mean, maybe if you're into the stars, into the planets, if you're one of those astrology people that love the belief of the moon and stars having a sway on people. If you believe in that, yeah, you probably have come across the Fermi paradox, but it's one of those things that for somebody who follows astrology, they're like, nah, I don't think that that's the case. They wouldn't agree with the Fermi paradox. They would look at the Fermi paradox as something that's just like, it's scientific gobbledygook. It's just a scientist scare tactic. That's not real. The Fermi paradox ain't real. That's what an astrologist would say. Somebody who's into astrology would say. But somebody who's into astronomy, the astrobiology side of it, would say the Fermi paradox is very real, and it is something that we kind of dread. And we don't dread in, oh my God, it's the end of existence. Astrobiologists, people that study the science behind astronomy and the stars, the planets, the evolutionary periods of them. These people would say the Fermi paradox is a sort of Schrodinger. It is a Schrodinger's scenario where at the current standing, we are the only civilization in existence that has evolved to the point of where we are. But until we find something else, we are the furthest existence to have evolved to where we are. That's the Schrodinger piece. It's because we are the only existence, the only furthest evolutionized existence in existence. But where it starts to become very scary to astronomers is when you start getting into the finding of anything, even if it's ruins. Finding ruins and evidence of a seemingly extinct civilization, that's the worst case scenario. Because even if we don't know what kind of species this is, we find any type of remnants of an extinct species anywhere. That tells us that somebody's hit a barrier that they couldn't get over. They've hit an evolutionary barrier that they needed science and evolution to get over it. So if we find anything, it's bad. If we don't find anything, it's kind of like a catch-22 on bad and good. Because if we don't find anything, does that mean we're the furthest along? And also, at the same token, you'll ask the question, if we are the furthest along, how close are we to the wall? And it's called a wall because it is that. It's just such a evolution has to take such a jump that it's basically a wall you run into. Because unless you get over this evolutionary barrier, you cannot progress forward. Which is it's the literal definition of what a wall is. It's hitting something that's stopping your progression and having to go up so high to be able to get over it to continue progression. That is a literal definition of a wall. Your house is a perfect example. Hit a wall in your house. How far do you have to go up before you get over that wall? Well, I have to go over the roof. There you go. That's the evolutionary wall. That's what people are so afraid of. Not people, because most people do not know about the Fermi paradox. Regular people do not know about it. The Fermi paradox is a science thing. The people who've taken classes in astronomy and people who are astrobiologists know about the Fermi paradox. And it's scary. And to be honest, to think about it, if you think about it, human beings, our current state of human beings, are the most successful science experiment in existence. We started out as a bit of bacteria that clung to rocks and water in a cave. And we started to evolve from there. And the crazy, what's mind blowing about the whole thing is people think that dinosaurs existed so much further back than human beings. We didn't. Dinosaurs, human beings. It's that close. Literally that close. Connection between dinosaurs and human beings are that close. And science has proven this. Science has proven that human beings stepped out of the caves not long after the dinosaurs had gone extinct. Not long. Which is kind of what goes into my theory. Goes into my theory of the whole impact of the moon with the earth, and the impact of the moon is what caused our mass acceleration of evolution in our species. Because while people say, well, if that's the case, then human beings would still be coming out of the water in caves like we do. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the debris that hit the earth and collided with the earth from the moon, in my theory, was the catalyst needed to propel human evolution. Because while, yeah, it's one of those things where, how do you explain so many people? Well, you gotta think, how big is the moon? The moon is massive. It's got a lot of area. And when it hit Earth, it was probably much bigger. So when it hit Earth, it left a lot of stuff behind. And when it left a lot of stuff behind, that's where we get this massive evolutionary period of human beings. Is that the elements and the genetic makeup of the moon mixed with the already overly greenhouse effect bacterias that existed here on Earth beforehand. To me, and my theory, those connection points are how we got humans. The moon, in my theory, is how we have humans. Because once all of essentially the remnants of the moon had been used up by the bacterias turning into humans, once it all had finally evolutionized into humans, there's nothing left behind. So of course human beings won't be stepping out of caves anymore. Of course we won't be coming up out of the water as a tadpole anymore. Because we've already used all of the resource that was initially intended to jumpstart us. So in my theory, we should be praising the moon. The moon should be, if God was something, that's what God would be the moon. Because to me, I believe we wouldn't exist without the moon. The moon, without the moon crashing onto this planet and then getting stuck in our atmosphere, without that, we would not exist. That is my theory. And I can tell you where I came up with this theory, but it would sound crazy. it would sound absolutely insane. So of course I'm going to say it. Of course I'm going to tell you the theory. Why would I keep it to myself? So this theory came about whenever I created my God story. That's when the moon theory came. My moon theory came about when I created my God story. And for anybody that's privy to me and my content knows of my God's story. I mean, a lot of people have heard me talk extensively about my God's story. And it's not gods, as in like Roman or Greek Empire God. No, it's gods as an acronym, meaning governors of dimension. Back when this all came to me is when the moon theory came to me. And my moon theory is that human beings wouldn't exist if the moon wouldn't have crashed into this planet. Human beings would not have existed. And if we did, we wouldn't be what we are now. We would be completely different. And that is my theory. The moon is what we should be praising. Because without the moon crashing into this planet, human beings wouldn't exist. And that's something I've built up from taking these classes and courses. And it doesn't really stamp out religion. It really doesn't. It kind of gives religion an actual, to me, it gives religion a validity. It actually brings validity. Like, because then it gives God would have a form. God would finally have its form, true form. Because it wouldn't be some figment of some people's imagination, a fart cloud in others. God wouldn't be that. We would have a God to praise. Because that's what we should be doing. We should be thanking the moon. We should be thanking the moon for crash landing into this planet like an alien species and catapulting our species into the future. That's what we should be praising. The moon. Because while Jesus Christ was a brilliant human being who deserved so much better, but knew what he was for, if Jesus had the same thoughts that I have, he may be saying the same thing. While human beings are indefinitely flawed and capable of so much more than we will ever achieve, we are looking at the wrong things and praising the wrong people. But that's my theory. That's my theory.
Your ass in 28. I'm sick of it. And that's where all this is headed. And recognize we're the only ones that are really in the game. One of the reasons they're talking about me is because we're the only ones that are in the game. All these other people, they're not playing a game. All these other people, they're content to do their show, do the GOP talking points. Hey, everybody, vote Republican. Democrats suck and Muslims are bad. Vote Republican. This is the only show where we're actually raising a challenge and saying we're going to take the momentum and the support and the juice that we have, and we're going to use it to affect political change. We're going to use it to create a tribe. We are a team. And we're going to use it to throw our weight around. You want our vote? You better get it done. You're in power now. You want to campaign in 28? Use your power. Make us happy. You'll earn it. You'll take the wind right out of my sails. Otherwise, you can forget it. We will burn it to the ground. I'm the necessary evil. You want me to be the villain? I'll be the villain. I'll be the necessary evil. They say, he's going to get the whole thing destroyed. He's going to get the Democrats to win. I'm necessary evil then. Call it what you want. You want me to be the villain? I'll play the villain. In 28, I'll be the extremist. I'll be the radical. Somebody has to, because otherwise, nobody has the urgency. Nobody cares. So I'll force them to care.
He's right. I don't even know what. I think I use Google. I don't even know my Rumble. I don't use it often. I probably should. I wonder what they're streaming. Do they have streaming? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to follow this kid. I'm going to follow this kid on X. I know he's on X. I know for a fact. I mean, he's right here. I'm going to follow him on X too. Because while a lot of what he says is very, very radical, but ask yourself, why is a kid who's barely even breaking into his 30s, he's not even 30 yet, he's 27 years old. This kid is 27 years old and already 100% disillusioned with democracy. Why is that? Why is it that a 27-year-old kid that should still kind of be messing around with parties and acting a fool and really not knowing what he wants to do, just kind of has an idea of what he wants to do, but doesn't really know what he wants to do? That's what this kid should be worried about. He shouldn't be worried about his ultimate future into his 60s because the government is finding any and every way to scam out everybody out of their money, their futures. A 27-year-old kid shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. He's still basically a child. He's barely a decade out of high school, and yet he's worried about the country falling to the ground. People should listen to this stuff a little more. You don't have to agree with what he says, but listen to what he says at least. Listen to what he says. And even if you don't like what he says, listen to it. I listen to stuff all the time that I don't agree with. I listen to the things that I find so uncomfortable that I feel embarrassed for the people that are creating the audio that I'm listening to. This is what we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be ushering in 27-year-old kids to be living through an existential crisis about their future. We should have voted these relics out of power long ago. When we started realizing Obama was more of a criminal than what he portrayed himself to be, we should have started voting these people out of power then. But now we're having to play catch up. But it's fine. At least we're not in our 60s or 70s while we're trying to play catch up. We still have tons of time. The millennials and Gen Z have tons of time to correct the course of this ship. So he's 100% correct. Well, when it comes to the politics stuff, he is correct. When it comes to politics, he is correct. And we need to stop. We need to stop letting these people dictate us. Because we'll be in a future we don't want to be in. We'll be fighting in wars that we don't believe in. So we really need to stop. Stop attacking somebody because he's got tiny little goofy views of certain things. His ultimate message is not bad. His ultimate message is an America First message. And we need to start doing that. We need to really start being America First and not just saying it. Because even though we say America First, We are showing otherwise. We really are. Unfortunately, I didn't get through everything I wanted to on my saved. But that gives us some stuff to talk about tomorrow. So we got to here. So tomorrow we'll have even more to talk about. Today, shit. Well, we'll do some streaming today because I have a family New Year's Eve party to go to, and seeing as I don't drive, or I don't have the ability to drive right now, I have to be picked up. So tomorrow, I'll try to come get on normal time around 11 a.m. noon. We'll just have to see. It's 4 o'clock in the morning right now. Just realized that. But we've only been streaming for about 4 hours, 5 hours at most, which is our normal time. So not too bad. I did go live a little bit later, and it's only because there's just a lot going on today. I had a lot. I had to walk over to the store, which is about 2 miles away, get me some more milk. Then I had to stop and get me prescription for my self-medication. And then I had to walk back, which is another 2 miles. So yeah, we went live a little bit later. Hey, Nazor, trust me, guy, I don't have any bad feelings towards you. I wish you would have brought something a little more heavy instead of trying to use some low IQ stuff. I love having conversation with people. When you try to attack me right out of the gate, it's not going to bode well for you. And then it's going to look worse when you tell me that an American citizen has low IQ when England is in worse shape than we are. So I would recommend getting off live streams, or if you're going to be on live streams, be live streaming yourself and tell your government how bad they suck, and then start doing what you can to start making the fix. Because I'm one guy with no following doing what I can, and that's saying what needs said, pointing out what needs pointed out, and not standing down to no one. I will not back down for anyone. So if you would like to come back and have an actual educational conversation without using whatever you were trying to use as a form of gotcha, I will read your request. Though, to let you know now, it would be content. It would be content. But if you do it right, we will have conversations. But if you don't plan to bring anything useful, I don't need you. I don't need followers that are just going to follow. I need followers who aren't going to follow, but be right next to me. That's what all this is for. You don't build these followings in these streaming websites because you want people walking behind you, just hinging on every word you say. You want people that are going to stand next to you and fight when needed and talk when you don't need to fight. So I don't need your follow. I don't need your support. And I don't need any support of people like you if that's how you're going to be. So if you would like to come back and have a civilized, normal, intelligent conversation, then you can raise your IQ above 80